Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Check this out, y'all. I'm going to tell you a story about one of the guys that I met years ago. He was struggling, trying to figure out should he start selling drugs to help his girlfriend or complete his sentence so he can get out quicker. He didn't know what to do. And I'm going to share with you the advice that I gave him. And the reason this story is important to me because I had somebody else come to me the other day and ask my advice on should they jump back in the game so they can get some money to help their girlfriend. Was there any situation where I would abandon what it is that I'm doing to get back in the game if my girl needed some money or my family, somebody in my family needed some money, somebody that I cared about needed some money? Would I walk away from what I'm doing for the quick dollar just so I can help them in the meantime, but still get back to what I was doing, right? And I'm going to share that conversation with you because it really made me remember the young guy that I gave advice to years ago. And I felt good about what I said to him. You know what I'm saying? And I want to parallel, the mindset that I had then to now and explain to you how I got there and why I said what I said in both of those situations. You know what I mean? Now, years ago, there was this young guy, another young guy. He was one of the guys too. His girl, she was living in a storage bin, a storage facility. You know how they got the storage facility where you put your extra furniture and all that old kind of stuff? Well, he had recently gotten locked up, right? And had been sentenced to 4.5 years, 4 years and some months or whatever about, what he had to do rather when he came to prison. And he had been in a relationship with this girl before he came to prison, and they had a 3-year-old daughter. And things went south for her when he got locked up, and he ended up getting put in prison, and she ended up getting evicted. And she didn't want to go stay with his mother. So she ended up with the little money that she had. She ended up going to get a storage bin. She rented it out for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So she would know she'd have somewhere to sleep for 6 months. And, she was on food stamps and all that. So she was able to get some food. She had a hot pot. She had a steamer thing that she cooked the food in and all this and that, right? And she had a phone that she talked to him on once a week. So when he was talking to her, it was scary because he could hear traffic in the area that she was in and the cars driving by in the area that she was in the storage facility. And he was scared for her and his daughter. And his daughter would be asleep, and when she would wake up, the mother would tell her to be quiet because she didn't want anybody to know that she was in there. She didn't want anybody to know that she was in there like that. You know what I mean? The people that owned the place, they knew. And they wanted to try to help her, but they let her stay there like that. But she didn't want anybody else to know because this was a bad part of town. And in this particular part of town, a lot of drug dealers would use those storage facilities to do all sorts of things. You understand what I'm saying, okay? So, meaning hide their drugs, hide property, stuff like that or whatever stuff like that. So they were always in and out of that area. And she was in this area with her 3-year-old daughter, his 3-year-old daughter, because she didn't want to go stay with his mom and sleep on the couch because that's all she had for both of them to be able. They would have to sleep on the couch. So he came to me one day and he asked me, what did I think he should do? And I told him, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I told him, I said, man, if that was mine, I'd do whatever I needed to do. Now, I want you to keep in mind the state of mind that I was in then. The state of mind that I was in then. I was in rotation. I was getting money. And I thought that I was doing the right thing, even though I had one foot in, one foot out. I really believe that the ends justified the means. You feel what I'm saying? And I passed that corrupt, bad advice on to him. Now, I gave him some drugs. He sold the drugs. He helped her get a place. And he told her about me, and she thanked me, and he thanked me. And they were like looking at me and talking to me and talking about me as if I had come to their rescue and I had done something amazing for them. And at the time, I thought I had done the right thing. I felt good about what I did. But the other day, another young brother came to me, and he ran down a similar situation, not a storage facility and all this and that, but she was staying at a relative's house that were basically treating her like she was the stepchild and making her have to do all the cleaning up, not only watching her own child, but babysitting all the other kids that were at the house and all of these other things, basically treating her like she was the maid, not a sister, not a relative. And she wanted out of there. And when he talked to her, she was like, please, you got to do something to help me. You got to do something to help me. So when he came to me, I thought about the advice that I had given the other brother years ago. I thought about that. And I was like, man, what do I tell him? Because I remember what I told the young dude. If it was mine, I'd do whatever I had to do. I'd do whatever I needed to do. But I don't think that way today. Because doing whatever you need to do, meaning selling drugs, this, that, whatever it takes to provide for your family, in the long run, it's not good. Why is that? Why is that? Because you're setting an example. If the kids are able to understand, you're setting a bad example for them. Plus, you're developing a pattern of behavior that could be more detrimental to them in the long run than the benefit that they would gain in the short. And I get what some of you might be thinking. I'm going to do what I need to do for now. And then I'm going to get to tomorrow. I just got to get to tomorrow. But I always say, what if I would have given him the advice? Because I told him, look here, man, you got to hold fast. You got to hold fast. You need to convince her that she has to put up with what is going on right now in the short term, and in the long run, then she'll be better for it. Because if the option is for you to put yourself in a bad situation and you get caught, because all it takes is once, and you get caught, you're not going to be with her, one. Two, you're going to find yourself maybe getting more time. So you're not going to be with her longer, or your child. So you make the situation worse. If you get away with it, yeah, fine. But then you would find yourself relying on a bad behavior to solve your problems. You ain't learned nothing from it. And that's the problem that I have. Because after I gave him that advice, I ain't gonna lie, I sat down and I thought about it, and I'm like, dang, he's in a bad spot. He's in a bad spot. But we all find ourselves in bad spots because of the decisions that we make. We make a lot of bad decisions that put us in situations that we are not prepared to deal with. And this is not judging him. This is all of us. This is all of us. He's in prison for selling drugs and robbery. And he doesn't have a lot. But one day away from your family is enough, if you ask me. And to give him advice to start selling drugs again to help her would have been the wrong advice. And I didn't want to do that. I'd already done that once in my life. Even though he didn't get caught, even though he was able to do all the things he wanted to do, And he ended up getting out, and he's working, he's doing, I'm still in touch with him. Everything is fine. Even though things worked out for them, I still regret giving him the advice that I gave him. Because what if it didn't work out? What if it didn't work out? I have to wear that. I have to wear that. And, like I say, I'm still in touch with him, and I've told him over and over again, he listens to the show. I've told him over and over again, I wish I would have given you better advice. And he said to me that he understands what I was saying today, but he also still believes that I gave him the right advice then. And I told him I gave you the wrong advice then. I gave you the wrong advice, and I'm glad it worked out. But he's like, bro, it worked out. I'm moving on. He don't even think about it like that no more. And he's moving on. He don't do nothing in the streets no more. He's straight, and I'm glad for him. But because things turned out right for him, good for him, don't mean I gave him the right advice. And this time when I had the opportunity to give the right advice, I gave it. Why do I say that's the right advice? Because if you're going to give somebody advice, remember this, people. If you're going to give somebody advice, give them the advice that won't put them in further harm. If you give somebody advice that can cause them further risk of losing their freedom, their health, any of that type of stuff, then you're giving them the wrong advice. It's as simple as that. If you're telling them to do something that's against the law, you're giving them the wrong advice. It's as simple as that. And I know you don't want to hear that. But come on, man. Come on now. If we're going to keep it 100 with each other, let's keep it 100 with each other. So when I was talking to the young guy, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, he's one of the guys, and he said, so what do I do now? I said, you got to persevere, man. You got to do your sentence. I said, if you really want to get down to it, send her the money that you got on your books. Sacrifice that, because you ain't got to worry about eating. You got 3 meals. It ain't no good food, but you got food. You ain't got to worry about no mortgage. You got somewhere to sleep. Just keep you enough to buy you some soap and deodorant. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be just fine. Now, I messed with him. I gave him some stuff so he would be straight. You know what I'm saying? I gave him a little something. But those lessons are the hard ones, man. Giving somebody the right advice. And the right advice, I mean the right advice. The virtuous advice. The advice that's going to add to them, not take from them. That's hard sometimes, man. But you got to do it. And if you don't do it, you're going to live to regret it. Because I think about, what if a young dude back in the day would have got caught? What if he'd have got caught? What do you say then? Even though she begged him for help, she knew what she was asking him to do. But it is what it is. When you're desperate, you'll do anything. And that's what happened. And I gave him the wrong advice, and I won't do that again. I will not do that again. If I give somebody some bad advice, it won't be intentionally. It will not be intentional. Just wanted to drop that on y'all, right? Just think about what I'm saying here. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I said, peace, y'all.